Imagine Earth has a total population of just 8 individuals.
Just 8 people.
Right, just 8. And the ruins of the old world are completely quiet. Or, depending on how you want to look at it, maybe this is the very dawn of a brand new world.
Like a clean slate.
Exactly.
Mm.
And these 8 people are standing in a circle in this untouched forest. They have an immediate, really pressing choice to make about how they're going to survive.
Yeah, the ultimate survival question.
Do they divide up all the necessary tasks of survival and, collaborate as a single unit? Or does each person just turn their back on the group and walk off into the woods to fend entirely for themselves?
It sounds like a philosophical riddle for a sociology class.
It really does. But it's actually the premise of a December 2024 essay by an author named Xue Feng. And this was translated and edited by Kinyu.
Right, King you.
Yeah. And the essay argues that humanity's current failure to answer this really basic question is actually destroying our global economy.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we are looking at a profound critique of how the entire world operates. The mission for our deep dive today is to take that 8-person scenario from the text and, well, use it to examine the actual mechanics of a global division of labor.
Which is super relevant for all of you listening because it affects literally everything we buy and do.
Exactly. We are going to contrast the ideal of absolute collaboration with our current reality, where, nations are just obsessed with self-reliance. And we'll explore what this essay defines as a truly civilized global society.
Because it's not what we currently have.
No, not at all. The author makes this really compelling case that the way we are running the planet right now isn't just a little inefficient, it is actively working against the core principles of human progress.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's run the simulation on those 8 people and see how the text breaks it down.
Let's do it.
So if they take the first path, right, collaboration, they sit down in that circle and assign roles based on what needs to be done.
Dividing the labor.
Exactly. So person 1 becomes a designated farmer, providing food for the whole group. Person 2 handles the clothing, so they're the weaver and tailor.
Makes sense.
The third person focuses entirely on building shelters. The fourth handles all the transportation needs. Number 5 figures out, how to supply electricity or power.
Right, the infrastructure stuff.
Yeah. Number 6 becomes the blacksmith, manufacturing tools. Number 7 is in charge of entertainment and education. Got to keep the mind and spirit alive, right?
Of course.
And finally, the 8th person handles healthcare. So acting as the doctor, and eventually handling end-of-life services. So 8 people, 8 distinct domains.
And what's happening here, the mechanism at play is compounding mastery.
Compounding mastery.
Right. When an individual focuses entirely on one task, they aren't just saving the physical time they would have spent, context switching between farming and building.
They're not just switching hats.
Exactly. They are iterating. So the tool maker who spends 10 hours a day forging tools doesn't just make more tools, they invent better ones. The quality of the metal improves.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, the designs become more ergonomic, and those better tools then make the farmer significantly more efficient.
Right, a better plow means more food.
Exactly. The farmer produces a massive surplus of food, which feeds the toolmaker better, giving them more energy and time to innovate even further. It is a compounding loop of prosperity.
Which is, frankly, the total opposite of the second path.
Oh, complete opposite.
If those 8 people just walk away from each other and refuse to collaborate, they each have to grow their own crops.
And weave their own clothes.
Yeah. They have to build a house, figure out how to generate power, forge their own tools, cut their own hair, craft their own coffin, and somehow, diagnose their own illnesses when they get sick.
Which is just a recipe for exhaustion and poverty.
It really is.
If you divide your 10-hour day into 8 different survival tasks, you never achieve mastery in any of them. You produce mediocre food, flimsy tools, and leaky shelters.
You're just barely scraping by.
You are constantly in a state of baseline survival. The conclusion from the text is that division of labor far surpasses self-reliance on literally every measurable metric.
Right.
It optimizes resources, reduces costs, and creates actual wealth because it allows individuals to fully utilize their specific talents.
And honestly, you rely on a massive web of this exact kind of collaboration every single time you wake up.
Oh, for sure.
Think about your morning commute. If your car breaks down, you don't hike into the mountains, mine iron ore, smelt it down, and forge a new carburetor.
No, you just take it to a mechanic.
Right. You just pay an expert. We get this intuitively on a personal level. We know that trying to do everything ourselves is a fast track to ruin. But the leap this essay makes is looking at what happens when we scale that exact same logic up to the size of a country.
And it's easy to judge the 8 people isolating themselves in the woods. But the terrifying part is that we are currently making the exact same mistake on a planetary scale.
Wait, really?
Yes, if you take those original 8 individuals and replace them with the nations of the world, you realize that on a macro level, our countries are acting exactly like those hermits wandering off into the woods alone.
Because every country is trying to build what the author calls a comprehensive system.
Yes, the comprehensive system.
They want an agricultural sector, an industrial base, an information tech sector, a service industry, and a massive military, all contained safely within their own borders.
They want to do it all.
Right. They want to grow their own wheat, manufacture their own steel, build their own cars and aircraft, and right now everyone is in this frantic race to develop their own microchips.
Exactly.
But hold on, calling it a mistake or comparing it to a hermit in the woods feels, I don't know, a little reductive. Well, if a neighboring country cuts off our microchip supply tomorrow or blocks a shipping lane for grain, our entire economy just grinds to a halt. We've seen global supply chains collapse recently. Isn't building a comprehensive system just basic national security? Like, it's not about being a hermit, it's about survival.
And what's fascinating here is that the text actually addresses that fear head on.
Okay.
The author totally acknowledges that nations build these redundant systems out of a terror of dependency. It is absolutely a defense mechanism.
Right, they're scared.
But the argument is that this very fear is the exact engine driving catastrophic global inefficiency.
Wow.
By striving for total self-reliance just to avoid depending on a neighbor, nations are mimicking the fool who tries to build his own coffin and weave his own clothes. The fear of vulnerability leads to immense, unquantifiable waste.
Because they are forcing industries to exist where they naturally shouldn't.
Exactly.
They're pouring billions of dollars and millions of man-hours into an industry a country is naturally terrible at just to say they have it inside their borders.
Precisely. And it lowers the standard of living for everyone on Earth.
Right.
When a country forces a domestic industry to exist through subsidies and massive spending, despite lacking the natural resources, the climate, or the talent pool for it, they are diverting human capital away from what they are actually good at. The pursuit of the comprehensive system is basically the pursuit of mediocrity.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The essay uses some incredibly vivid, almost absurd examples to illustrate what a monumental waste of effort this national self-reliance really is.
The examples are great.
Right. Does it make any logical sense for Bangladesh to pour its national budget into developing a space program?
Obviously not.
Or for Mongolia, which is completely landlocked, to focus heavily on building a massive navy?
Or for Zambia to try and spearhead global technological innovation, or Ethiopia to focus all its energy on heavy industry.
It's just absurd.
They simply lack the geographic, climatic, or natural resource conditions to make that efficient. They are literally fighting their own environment. It is the equivalent of the person in the thought experiment who lives in a rocky, barren canyon trying to become the designated wheat farmer.
It's a great way to look at it. And to really grasp the opportunity cost here, just think about it on an individual level. Imagine if you asked Elon Musk to step away from rocketry and electric vehicles so he could, I don't know, raise rabbits.
Raising rabbits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if Mark Zuckerberg abandoned software engineering to craft fine wine in a vineyard. Or if Ren Zhengfei, the founder of Huawei, decided his highest calling was to serve as a small-town mayor.
What a waste.
My favorite visual from the text is the legendary soprano Maria Callas. Imagine her putting down the microphone, putting on a hard hat, and pouring concrete to build houses.
It's a tragic waste of human potential. Could Maria Callas technically learn to frame a house and pour concrete?
Yes.
She might even build a decent one if she spent 20 years at it. But the world is permanently robbed of her music, so she can build one mediocre structure.
That's so true.
The author is arguing that asking countries to develop comprehensive systems is the exact same tragedy on a global scale. We're forcing nations to be mediocre at a dozen things instead of brilliant at one thing.
It's like having a team of world-class athletes and making the point guard play center and the center play point guard just in case one of them gets injured.
Right, just in case.
You are guaranteeing that the team operates far below its actual capacity.
And the global economy is operating below its potential because we prioritize redundant security over specialized brilliance. Every dollar spent propping up a redundant industry is a dollar not spent curing diseases, exploring space, or improving the actual quality of life for citizens.
The text doesn't just complain about the problem, though. It lays out a highly specific blueprint for what global specialization should actually look like. And honestly, it is radical.
Very radical.
The author suggests nations should only focus on what they do best, optimizing global resources based entirely on their unique geographic, climatic, and educational advantages.
Yep, let's go through the list.
Listen to how the text breaks this down. In this proposed world, China specializes almost entirely in producing clothing, toys, and daily necessities for the globe.
Okay.
Russia focuses its vast landmass on providing natural gas, fertilizers, and wheat. The United States leans into its specific strengths, leading the world in global education, technological innovation, and providing global security.
Right.
Germany does what it does best, machinery and equipment manufacturing.
Mm-hmm.
Japan specializes in small automobiles and home appliances. And Zimbabwe focuses on developing incredible global tourism and elderly care industries.
Which requires a complete reimagining of the global supply chain.
Completely.
You're talking about dismantling entire sectors of national economies and trusting other nations to provide those essential goods. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the author is very clear that you cannot just assign these roles on a whiteboard and expect paradise.
Right. It's not that simple.
No. There are 3 massive, non-negotiable conditions required to turn this theoretical blueprint into a functional reality.
Because the political fallout of telling a nation, hey, we are shutting down our auto industry because another country does it better, and we are going to focus entirely on agriculture, that would be astronomical without some major structural changes.
Exactly. Which brings us to the first condition. There must be 0 tariffs globally.
0 tariffs.
0. Tariffs are friction. If I can borrow from the tech world, think of international trade like a massive computer network.
Okay, I'm with you.
Data needs to flow instantly to where it's needed. Every time you introduce a firewall, in this case a tariff, you slow down the processing speed of the entire system. In a system of pure reliance, friction destroys the compounding efficiency we talked about earlier.
That makes total sense.
If countries are taxing each other's specialized goods, the cost of living goes up, and the incentive to specialize basically vanishes.
So the second condition the text lists is that humanity must operate as a united global family, which, let's be honest, feels incredibly utopian.
Oh, it is highly utopian. But functionally, it means the fear of dependency has to be replaced by absolute trust.
Right.
You cannot outsource your food supply to Russia or your technological infrastructure to the United States if you think there is even a fractional chance they might weaponize it against you.
Yeah, the stakes are too high.
Exactly. The entire system relies on the absolute certainty that the farmer will feed the toolmaker no matter what.
And the third condition is the completely free movement of people.
Yes.
The author argues that if someone in Zimbabwe is like a once-in-a-generation genius at technological innovation, they need to be able to move freely to the United States where that industry is centered without borders or visas stopping them. Talent has to flow to its natural domain.
And to help visualize how all these conditions work together, the author uses this really brilliant chessboard analogy.
Oh, I love this part.
If you play chess, you know that every piece has a distinct role. A knight moves in an L shape. A bishop moves diagonally. A rook moves in straight lines. The entire strategy of the game relies on those pieces acting within their specific limitations and leveraging their unique strengths.
If a rook suddenly decides it wants to move diagonally like a bishop, the strategy just falls apart. The rules of the game break down.
The piece becomes useless and the game is lost. The author argues that humanity only thrives when each country acts like a specific piece on this global chessboard.
Right.
We have to contribute our unique, specialized abilities rather than trying to move in ways we just weren't designed to. It is only by embracing our specific limitations, acknowledging what we are actually not good at, that we unlock our collective potential. A knight doesn't need to learn how to move like a rook. It just needs to be the best possible knight.
So if the blueprint is this straightforward, figure out what you're naturally good at, do only that, and share with everyone else, we have to confront why we are so far from this reality. Like, why aren't we living on this borderless, highly specialized chessboard right now?
Well, the author isn't blind to human nature. The text explicitly acknowledges that this is currently an ideal state. The massive barrier preventing this global collaboration is deeply rooted in human nature, self-interest, and greed.
Yeah.
We hold on to our tariffs, our borders, and our redundant industries because we prioritize our own immediate, isolated security over the immense shared prosperity of the group. We are terrified of being vulnerable.
We'd rather build our own shaky coffin than trust the coffin maker down the road,
Hmm.
just in case he decides to overcharge us or withhold the coffin entirely.
Exactly. But the text doesn't end on a note of despair about human greed. Instead, it forces a profound philosophical shift regarding how we define progress.
Right.
This raises an important question anchored by this one line in the essay. Competition is not the hallmark of an advanced civilization.
As someone raised in a modern market economy, that feels completely backwards.
Right.
We are taught from day one that competition is the sole engine of progress. Two companies competing for customers creates a better smartphone. Athletes competing against each other break world records. We just assume that nations competing for resources and dominance pushes the boundaries of science and military power. We worship competition.
We really do. But the text challenges us to look closer at the mechanics of that competition on a national scale. Biological competition, survival of the fittest, is how animals operate in the wild.
Sure.
But if competition requires every nation to duplicate the efforts of every other nation, building parallel supply chains for microchips, parallel space programs, parallel agricultural systems, you are wasting finite natural resources and human talent in a paranoid race.
Wow, yeah.
The author challenges us to ask if that paranoia is truly the sign of an advanced species, or if it's just a highly organized version of animals fighting over scraps.
So a truly civilized society isn't defined by who wins a brutal competition of independent survival.
It is defined by the exact opposite. It's defined by the willingness to be vulnerable, by playing to our unique strengths, dividing the necessary labor, collaborating without borders, and ultimately serving one another.
Right.
The argument is that this level of absolute trust and specialization is the only principle that will ensure our long-term sustainable existence on this planet. Civilization isn't about how well you can survive alone. It's about how well you can integrate into the whole.
We started out looking at 8 people deciding whether to survive together or struggle alone. And seeing that concept scale up from the absurdity of Elon Musk raising rabbits to the reality of nations insisting on making their own microchips, it completely reframes how you look at the global economy.
It really does.
The idea of a zero-tariff chessboard where every nation just plays its specific part is a massive departure from how the world operates today. It requires a level of trust that feels almost alien right now.
It demands a total reevaluation of what we consider strength and what we consider weakness. And as we wrap up this deep dive into the sources, I want to leave you with a final question to ponder on your own, building on this core philosophy.
Okay.
If total specialization and the vulnerability of truly relying on others is the actual hallmark of an advanced civilization, what is one self-reliant task in your own life that you are stubbornly holding on to out of a false sense of independence?
Ooh, that's a good one.
What is the one thing you are forcing yourself to do poorly that you'd be much better off outsourcing to a specialist so you can finally focus on your own unique genius?
Are you the one trying to build a house when you should be singing? It's something to think about the next time you find yourself trying to do it all yourself. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Keep questioning the systems around you, and remember those 8 people standing in a circle deciding how to build a world. See you next time.